Giddy up. Let's bring him in. I know he's chomping at the bit. Jason Demers, the former NHLer, now turned NHL Network analyst. We are right pissed off today.
Oh man. This is what we need behind me is a brick wall back there.
Yeah.
Is that a green screen brick wall?
We need a brick wall here. We need something. Give me a save. I'm just dying laughing because I tweeted after the game. 99.8% of my tweet was positive for the Vancouver Canucks, but I said they stink, and I am just kidding. Canucks fans are coming for me. It's hilarious. It's making my day. I absolutely love it.
They're absolutely insane.
Oh, their fan
Canucks
base is
fans are nuts.
a bunch of morons. Yeah.
Oh, it's hilarious. I mean, it's people are coming after my career just because I said, hey, you guys are finding a way to win. You're showing yourselves more resilient, better goaltending, but you guys still stink. And everybody's like, what do you mean we stink? Well, fuck you. I'm like, do you not read the other rest of the tweet? Literacy in Vancouver is hilarious. I love it.
Okay, so last night they lose by a goal. They almost got the miracle there at the end, which was crazy.
Very close.
Yeah.
Is this really as simple as the Oilers need a goalie that can show up and this series is over, or they don't get a goalie that can show up and this series is over the other way, or is there more going on here?
There's a lot going on in this series because, I think Edmonton as a whole has driven the play more and had the better chances. But the way they're doing that is they've loaded up that top line again and gave them way too much ice the last two games. And I understand they're must-win games, but you can't over a 7-game series and then over a playoff run that you're trying to win the Stanley Cup do what they're doing right now. And it's so easy to get, as a coach, to go, while we're struggling a bit or it's not going right, with obviously the win now pressure in the Edmonton media and within the organization, that they want to win so bad. But you can't get away what got you that 16-game winning streak and the bounce back they had once Knoblauch came in. Knoblauch came in and he would put that line together at times, but he did find a way to get scoring from his depth. But now it seems like as soon as we get into the playoffs, any coach that comes in, as soon as things go a little bit awry, they go back to that line. They forget that they have a bottom six. And then everybody's up in arms in Edmonton being like, well, the bottom six isn't producing. It doesn't matter if you are Sidney Crosby, Connor McDavid. If you play 5 to 6 minutes a night in a Stanley Cup playoff game when the pressure's risen really high and you're sitting there, it is tough to get out there and produce. And yeah, I know last night Warren Fogle makes that turnover and you immediately the leash is pulled on him, but you can't do that because now you're sending a message to the team that you don't trust them. You trust them in the season, but now the only guys that can get you a win are these two guys. Not saying that, the group of five. Now, not saying they're not a huge reason why they're still in the series and why they win games. Yes, you need that group of five to be dominant, but you need to find something else. And now, obviously, we can get into the goaltending. We can unpack that for hours, but the thing that I notice every time in Edmonton since Connor and Leon's been there is as soon as things get hairy in the playoffs, they just automatically go to factory reset and they go to this unit of three. They load up the line and they forget about the rest of the players on the team. And then what happens is you guys start gripping their sticks. They start losing the rhythm. And then everybody yells from the rafters, well, we need a new bottom six. We got to revamp our bottom six. That bottom six has been good all year. That bottom six is the reason and a main reason why the Edmonton Oilers had that 16-game winning streak and played so well down the stretch. You can't just abandon that once things get tough. And that's if you look at the rest of the playoffs, and if you even look at Vancouver, because I'm giving Vancouver their flowers here today because they're on their third-string goalie. Pettersson disappeared, but they stay within their structure and they just keep rolling out four lines. You look at Florida, doesn't matter what happens. They're down 2-0 in that last game against Boston. And they had a horrible start. They just stay in their structure. They roll four lines and they keep going. No matter if somebody on the fourth line makes a turnover or makes a mistake, you address those mistakes the next game if you want to pull guys out of the lineup, but you don't do it in the moment. They go down 2-0. last night. Warren Fogle makes that turnover, and it's like all of a sudden 6 guys are not playing at all. And then it's just, okay, we got to roll 30 minutes. Forget if you make it out of this series doing this. You're not going anywhere in the playoffs. You're going to maybe beat Vancouver, but you're going to get steamrolled by Dallas or Colorado because that team, Colorado will play their top 3 guys a lot, but they roll 4 lines. Same thing in Dallas. And the only way you could win in the NHL playoffs is with depth. So I don't know what happens if it's internally, if it's up top in the organization, that there's a secret phone that they call once things go shitty. And all of a sudden it's like, let's play Connor and Leon 30 minutes. And, it's part the coaching staff, but it's also part within the room. Like Connor and Leon, and then also like the Corey Perrys, the Evander Kanes, they got to go into the room and be like, listen, we understand the situation we're in, but we can't win playing 5 guys this many minutes. If anybody had 2 eyes and watched that game, go watch the third period, go watch Zach Hyman in the last 8 minutes. He is so explosive and so strong around the net. He couldn't even lift his arms, but he's not going to say no to get put on the ice because he's with these 2 guys. He couldn't explode to retrieve pucks, and his biggest thing is off that shot. He wins battles and he gets pucks back for Leon and Connor. He looked fatigued. He looked exhausted, and if he's the last 10 seconds and you need him to win a puck battle in front of the net and he can't win those battles, I mean, that's the difference between 1 goal tying it up and not. So I just look at it as a bigger issue of, I don't know what happens, but somebody's got to get in the room and be like, we need to rely on the depth because we're not going to go anywhere. Forget about beating Vancouver. You got to beat Colorado or Dallas, and then you got to probably beat Florida or the New York Rangers. Like, how the hell do you think you're going to do that playing Connor 30 minutes a night? Like, I don't care. He's the best player in the world. Leon's a top 5, top 10 in the league, in the world. 30 minutes, teams are going to find a way to adjust to you and shut that line. And that's what everybody says about Edmonton Oilers around the league. You just got to shut down that line or minimize them to 1-2 points. And what happens, you're going to beat them. So that's just the concerning issue. And that's kind of my rant a little bit, is just like, for fuck's sakes, just trust the goddamn bottom 6. Like, even if they make a turnover, you know what would have been the best thing last night is when Warren Fogle made that turnover. He's on the shift the next fucking shift. Like, the next shift he's out there. Roll him right back out and say, you know what, Warren, we got you. Don't worry about it. You've been good for us all year. You've been a great utility player that's went up and down the lineup. But then he ends up finishing the game playing 7-8 minutes. Like, what does that show him? That no matter what the year I had or the what I've done to sacrifice for this team, that once the going gets tough in the playoffs, I'm just thrown aside because we get a little bit nervous that we're down 2-0 early. So that's just something that if they want to win a Stanley Cup, they have to address that. Woo! That's a deep breath. God, I'm good.
Well, you've calmed me down a little bit, but my counterpoint to that would be, like, there have been games. Like, I'm looking, Perry's averaging 11:38 a game. Fogel's averaging 12:42. McLeod's averaging 14:01 in the playoffs. I know none of them played that much at 5-on-5 in the game last night, but and I'm looking at the shift chart on Natural Stat Trick. I think McDavid took a 4-minute shift at the end of that game. Like, he was out there for 4.5 of the final 5 minutes.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a chicken and the egg thing, though, because, like, you're down by a goal or you're down by 2 goals. You're in the moment. You know you need one. Corey Perry hasn't done sweet F all in these playoffs. He hasn't laid a noticeable hit. He hasn't forced a turnover. He had 1 quality chance last game, and I think it might have been his first of the playoffs. Ryan McLeod can't piss a drop offensively. Warren Fogle can't piss a drop offensively. His 1 goal was an empty netter in game 1 against the LA Kings. Matthias Janmark can't score. Derek Ryan can't score. Like, you go down the list, it's like none of these guys have done shit all for 8 playoff games. Like, I didn't want to see him on the ice with 6-7 minutes to go. That's probably why I'm not a coach. But it's just, at some point, you sit there and just go, like, those guys don't deserve opportunities. Like, they aren't doing anything with their ice time.
I agree. Like, I agree in the sense of the last 4 minutes. Like, I'm not talking about the last 4 minutes. I'm just more talking those minutes, the first period throughout the game, like early on. Like, obviously, once you get to the last 5 minutes, your best players are going out there no matter what. But you want Connor to be at 21, 22 minutes when it's the last 5 minutes of the game, not at 26, 27. Like I'm not talking about giving Connor 16 minutes a night, but reducing his ice time by 5 minutes and spreading that out over 1 to 2, 3 different players. And listen, it's 10, 11 minutes as a forward. I know they haven't produced, but again, it also provides a little bit of rest for them. They're in these 1-goal games, which they're losing, but it's not like game 1 they were leading. They went to game 2. Obviously, game 2, we know how that went. I thought they've dominated the last 2 games with Connor and Leon, but they have to, at one point, there just has to be a sense of riding with a four-line roster, because I understand that these guys haven't pissed a drop, but you have to know what you have in the locker room at the same time, because you're riding the 3 guys, and then what happens is the same old story every year. We get to the playoffs. The Oilers, they cry depth and goaltending, and then what happens is they go in the summer, they address it a little bit, but because they don't really know how badly the depth is actually playing, because they're not really given a crazy opportunity once the playoffs happen. And listen, I thought Corey Perry, I thought that was a goal. I thought that was in the net. It just was inconclusive. You couldn't see it on the camera because his glove was covering it. But that's him providing a chance. He draws a penalty there, which they then score on. So that's also him and McLeod. That line was really, I thought that was a great, but then I don't even remember seeing him after that for the rest of the game, maybe once or twice. And then also, I do believe a guy like Sam Carrick, here's the thing is, if you're not going to play your bottom 6 guys a lot, well, then why the hell did you get rid of like a Cassian? Just bring in a bunch of goons on your bottom 6 and have them run around. Just have them run around for 6 minutes. Bring in a Matt Rempe. Don't bring in Janmark. Don't bring in Holloway. Don't bring in McLeod. Don't bring in anybody that can score. Just, if we're talking about depth and they're not scoring, well, just bring in guys that are going to run around, and let's make it like real ugly on the bottom 6. So that's kind of where I'm at. And I do agree with you. The last 6 minutes, it should be your top guys, and these guys haven't produced, but you got to have an opportunity to somehow enact some kind of change, especially early on in the game. Even if they make a turnover and it goes in the net, you got to keep rolling the 4 lines. Then once you get to the 3rd period, let's go. Roll them out, play them 15 minutes. But they're going into the 3rd period already at like 21 minutes of ice time. It's like, it's crazy. And it's just not sustainable for a full playoff series. So it's like, are we trying to get out of the Vancouver series, or are we trying to win a cup? Which is like and that's on the coaching staff to also calm these guys down on the bottom 6 and like pull them aside and be like, listen, like, we're going to play you if you make a mistake. So, but just play, like, fucking, like, stop feeling sorry for yourselves and play. So, and that's kind of my rant on the front side of the ice and Knobloch. There's a lot to unpack on the back end of it. That's for sure.
What's up, Nation citizens? If you like that video, then you need to be subscribed to the Oilers Nation YouTube. Podcasts, live shows, exclusive interviews, and analysis. Everything you need from your favorite voices at Oilers Nation. And you don't want to miss any of it, so hammer that subscribe button.